podcast.
There you go. All right, here we are. Voice of Electronic Music, episode number 49 with Jamie Swing.
How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Nice.
Good. Yeah.
Nice. Are those loud enough for you? The
Yeah.
headphones?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
perfect.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, man. So you were telling me you've been busy today. I was busy here too. We were. I told you earlier, but I'll let the stream know. We were installing rain awnings in the front of the building here at Halcyon, and it was just something I had never done before. I had to use masonry drill bits, and we got a big lift, and even just putting the awnings together is just kind of a nightmare because it's like, these rednecks on YouTube giving you instructions.
YouTube's the go-to.
Yes, every time.
Yeah, right.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming down here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I guess I like to start generally, especially with people that the first time on the podcast, just give people a little bit of a intro, your how you got started in music and the music industry here in San Francisco.
Okay. Long story short, well, actually, it's a long story. So I got back in this scene back in '94 was my first event that I went to.
Oh wow.
I ran into a buddy of mine that I hadn't seen since high school, and I was on BART, and he's like, "Hey, how you been? Want to go to a party?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." And we went to a rave, never been to one, and I remember the first party we tried to go to that night got broken up. It's back in the day when you had to call a number, and everything was on voicemail.
Yeah.
Telling you directions. So that voicemail gets changed up by the DJs somehow, and they say, "Hey guys, this party's got busted. The promoters didn't want to pay us, so here's a party you should go to." And that led you to give you directions to another, like it was a warehouse party.
Oh wow.
So, and this actually ended up being a really good deal because the first event we showed up to was just like a single room, kind of looked like a restaurant. Didn't look like anything was actually going to go down there. But I didn't know either. It's my first event, but I didn't see anything. There's no sound. Nothing was set up.
Yeah.
You just saw some kids in front going, "Oh, where's the party now?" And so, but this warehouse had like lasers, lights, smoke machines, 3 rooms. And, that's when I found out what techno was, what trance was, what house was. I gravitated towards the house room.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on like hip hop and R&B and rock, and house was the closest that I can say was like the music that I, more of a tempo, more of a rhythm.
Yep.
And I just found myself in there the entire night. And that was that.
Totally.
That was 94.
Wow.
And then in 95, I just remember being in Santa Cruz. And I forgot the record shop I was at, but I just remember walking around with some friends. And I just noticed in the window there was a turntable or a listening station, which I'd never seen before.
Right.
And there was a line of turntables and then record crates. And I walked in. I said, "So you can actually listen to the records before you buy them?" They said, "Yeah." "What are you looking for?" And I said, "Well, I was at this rave. I don't know what you call it. I think it's house." And right away they're like, "Oh, we have a section." So they pointed me to the house section, and I grabbed a stack of records. The guy working there helped me. He's like, "What are you into?" And I kind of just explained to him what I liked, and I kind of went boom, boom. It was silly. He's like, okay, well, we got some disco kind of tracks. We got some 4 on the 4, and he was just explaining it to me. So, after the stack of records, I just remember the very first record I bought was a DJ Sneak record. Yeah.
Wow.
It was called Recycled Loops.
Oh man.
And I still have it.
Whoa, no kidding.
Yeah.
Your first record.
The very first one that I bought, and
Yeah.
then every single track after that, I said, okay, I want to kind of mold my sound around that. So
Right.
DJ Sneak was kind of like my go-to at the point.
Yeah.
At the moment. And then as you go to more parties, I started kind of learning who, more of the local, like Wicked Sound System, more like and Garth and Tony, and those are the kind of guys where I was like, okay, that's another sound that I want to kind of emulate.
Right.
And then I found the local record shops in Berkeley.
Yeah. Oh, they had great ones. I remember those.
Yeah.
Like early 2000s. There was one on Telegraph.
Yeah.
I used to go to all the time.
Yeah. So Primal was a big part. Primal Records that I went to, and then there was another. I mean, you could still go to the old school like Amoeba, Rasputin, but it was nothing like these record shops that you can actually listen to before you buy.
Right.
And then I just from there, I was
Yeah.
I was in it. That,
Right.
that was something I was gonna get into, and
Right.
bought my first set of turntables and never looked back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Not to mention, the people that hang around those places. That was like, if you were hanging out there in those record stores, you'd be running into local legends
Yeah.
or even big time DJs,
Yeah.
or DJs that hadn't even gotten big yet. I remember hearing stories of a lot of DJs that headline shows now, and they were working at a record store in the Bay Area back then.
Yeah, when I went to go to Primal Records, that was the one in Berkeley. Was it Galen used to work there? Solar,
Oh yeah.
Hector Morales.
Yep.
Who else? Marky Cork.
Yeah.
And they would just, especially Hector. Hector Morales was the one that I would come in, and he'd always have a bag for me.
Right.
For a moment, they'd be like, "Hey, we're gonna start bags. These would be picked out for you. Go listen to them, whichever you like, whichever you don't like, we'll put them back for you." And I was like, awesome.
Wow.
So that was a really good thing to have back in the day.
So they would like pre-select records for you, and then
Yeah.
they just put back the ones you didn't like.
Basically, you just told them what you're. I mean, after you go for a while, they start to know you by name.
Mhm,
So after a while, they know what you're looking for.
Ah.
But they also
Curators.
kind of throw in what you might like. This is a new label. This is a new sound. Oh, I remember you bought this
Yeah.
from this artist last time, or this record label last time. We got some in there for you.
Wow.
So it
That's
was
amazing.
It was
it's like a
awesome.
personal trainer for DJs.
Basically. And I remember, I kid you not, one time I made a real big bonus check with my job.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Hector remember this. I remember one day it was him and Rebecca Watkins used to work there too. I spent $600, maybe a little over $600 on records that one day.
Wow.
I was there for hours.
Wow.
Yeah, because sometimes that would be what you do. You spend your whole day there
Yeah.
on a weekend.
Right.
And-
Especially in the days of vinyl, and CDJs were really kind of pitiful back then, and so, if you wanted to, if you already have your turntables and your mixer, what's next?
Yeah.
Just stack up on records.
Yeah, so I just remember just thank you guys, and I just went.
You got a
home
hand
and-
cart?
Yeah. So well, they would give you boxes, or
Yeah.
I just remember that at that point, I actually bought a record crate too, just to put some in there and just so I had it. 'Cause
Yeah.
that was one of my first record crates.
Oh, right.
Because
right.
they sold like bags, crates, and everything back then.
Yeah.
Little
Yeah.
supplies like headphones, and
Man,
it was a good spot to be.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'd like to get to the point where I have a couple records, albums that I wanted on vinyl, but I got to say I missed that. It was a little bit before my time. I had a friend that was DJing kind of around that time. That's why I remember the record stores. And I think at the time, this was like high school, and like I hadn't even really gotten into making music. I was just into weird, technology and speakers and stuff like that. But I think I'd like to. It's expensive now. It's and
Crazy expensive.
it's made a comeback, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Like
Yeah.
it didn't fizzle out, didn't die. If anything, I think just this last year. Vinyl topped CDs being sold in the U.S. for the first time in like 15, 20 years.
I probably bet that, yeah, because
Yeah.
if you walk into stores nowadays, CDs aren't really.
Right.
Their sections are getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah. It's weird that that's the one that died.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
The thing with the resurgence of like turntables now being made again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not by Pioneer or by Techniques, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Pioneer makes
Pioneer's making them now.
1200.
And
Yeah.
now that's got people going, okay, I want to get back into vinyl.
Right.
Or maybe they had an old turntable that just never got serviced. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to buy that.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
The one thing I do miss about CDs is, I guess you can get this on Beatport now, but if you rip something off onto your computer from a CD, it's full wave quality. So it's studio quality.
Right.
And there is something, what's coming off of the record is pretty damn close as well. You do get the kind of crackles and pops, which are nice as well.
I
But
miss that sound.
yeah, it's so good.
The bass is nothing
Right.
like hearing it on vinyl,
Oh my God.
depending on how it was produced,
Right.
or put on the
Right.
put on the vinyl.
I've even heard sets on CDJs that have been complete vinyl rips. And they even still sound like better. They almost sound like vinyl because, I mean, if it's a direct copy, it's just coming off the CDJ, which is essentially a computer, you know?
Yeah, and that mostly comes with if there's a vinyl that's out of print or just not being made, or you just can't find it on Discogs or anywhere else.
Right.
That's your kind of go-to. You're like, oh, I got it on vinyl, or a buddy's got a copy and ripped it.
Right. I will say, too, I mean, the vinyl nights that we've had here they just feel kind of special, you know, because you look down. Well, I look down up there in the lighting booth, and I can see the little like lights on each turntable.
Yeah.
And they just look like little candles, you know, and that kind of like warm yellow glow, you know. And then of course the music sounds great, and it's just, I don't know, it's nice, it's nostalgic.
It's nothing like the feeling of mixing vinyl, and you have more control over it, and just I miss that too.
Yeah, something about the interactivity too. I mean, when I put on, you know, I have a turntable in my room, and we have one in our living room, but you know, it'll play 3 songs and then it stops, and you have to get up and you have to flip it over, and you know, I suppose if you're just looking to be lazy all day, maybe not the choice for that particular moment, but it is kind of nice, you know.
Yeah, well, that's why it took me so long to actually get into CDs or CDJs. So I was playing vinyl, and then I just noticed friends were going, "Hey, we're spending money on these CDJs. You should get some." But the price was always a turn off. I was like, I got bills, and
still a turn off.
You're talking about $1,000, $1,500, you know, minimum on some of these. And I was like, okay, just to play CDs?
Yeah.
No. So I went the Serato route first, just so I could still keep that vinyl.
Right.
Problem with that is most clubs weren't really up to that. You know, you had to bring your own control box.
Right.
And then you had to time it right. So, you know, someone's playing before you. And whether they had a sound guy or not, you're basically going, sorry, plug it into your box.
Reaching around while the DJ's doing his thing.
And I can tell you more times than not how you'd hear that, like the little, like, because it's not on the right channel.
The test tone or something.
That was annoying. So pretty soon I was like, okay, I was kind of forced into like, all right, I gotta put everything on CDs.
Right.
And it was a slow kind of like step into it, because the earlier CDJs weren't really, they weren't vinyl friendly to me.
Yeah.
You know, it just
they weren't that great. You know?
They weren't that great. And,
even the 1000s were okay. They were okay, but something about these, they just lock a little bit. They like, the timing is better, you know. There's less drift, which sounds weird because I mean, like, you know, you get tons of drift on a turntable. Yeah. But that's actually like friendly. It's like, you know, it's drift you want, you know. On CDJs, you don't really want that. You want it to be, you know, tight and crisp.
And I just remember going to friends' houses where they had one turntable, one CDJ. so we're like, okay, this is kind of where I want to be, but not quite. But I'm glad that I was pushed into CDJs, because again, you kind of have to keep with what the clubs have. Yeah. So again, or eventually, okay, CDs. Now I got to go and put everything on a thumb drive, which I had to learn that as well, because you don't have the same recognition. Like, it was easier with vinyl. Yeah. With the vinyl, you're flipping through records, you know what that label looks like. Yeah. With CDs, you've got them marked. Right. With thumb drive, you're just kind of like, okay, you're digging through songs. Yeah. It kind of forces you to have to really know like what you're looking for. Right. But you've got folders and categories now through Rekordbox, so it's made it easier. Rekordbox was a big change in a good way. Yeah. That was my savior right there. Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, because with CDs and vinyl, I mean, you could literally take a Sharpie and you could mark whatever you needed. You know, I mean, you could mark the label on the vinyl itself, which many people did. I mean, there's the classic little piece of tape that people, especially people that were scratching or wanted to know where their song started or whatever. Right. But that was an art too, is being able to look at that in a dark nightclub. You know, using that little light and being able to look across the vinyl and know exactly where the song started. Yeah. Even being able to skip to parts of the song that you wanted, you know? Yeah. That's kind of a lost art. I think it is. Well, it's still being used by some artists like hip-hop. And, sure, yeah. That's if you want to play with a laptop. Yes, but, right. Yeah. I just prefer the whole Serato DVS thing, man. I just as a sound guy, it was always such a nightmare. It was always just like, oh, you know, you have your laptop, and then it's like, okay, well, where do you put the laptop? And then you have the cord that goes to the, you know, your Serato box. And you have to plug that in, and you have to hope that they kind of configured the test tones before, and just like such a nightmare, you know, as far as setting it up on the fly. And then you got to worry about your laptop all night. Yes, exactly. Right. And it's glowing in your face and just like, Yeah, and it's just like, okay, step away from my laptop. I don't
Right.
want any drinks by my laptop.
Right.
Okay, please. Yeah.
Right.
I've
Such
seen
a
some accidents
yeah. Oh yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
luckily, I never had to deal with that.
Right. Good riddance, I say.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you're going to use a laptop and like a push or something, I feel like there's more that you can kind of do, and hopefully you're not just spinning two tracks together off your laptop. Because even stuff with like like the new Pioneer controllers, and we have one at our house, and it looks and feels very much like a CDJ.
Mhm.
You're not really missing, other than having one screen instead of two.
Right.
You're not missing a ton.
Right.
So did you? So I take it you didn't fight it too much then, the trade over to CDs.
No,
Yeah.
it was kind of one of those things where like I practiced mostly at home before I even went out to the clubs to do it.
Right.
It's kind of again with the putting everything on USB, it was a lot easier than transitioning from record box to CDs.
Right. Right.
Because then once you learn the jog wheel
Mm.
on the controller or the CDJ,
Right.
you're picking your songs. And you just hope that you're not clicking the wrong song. Or
Yeah.
You're not. Yeah. That if you got that down, you're pretty much just like you're home safe.
Right.
The rest is just what you do on the mixer.
Exactly. So how do you personally like sort your stuff in your USB?
So I put everything in folders pretty much. So by pretty much mood,
Okay.
honestly by genre. So I don't stick to just house. I play
Right.
different genres, but I'll kind of name them for like what the kind of like how do I say this? Just kind of the mood of the night.
It's the vibe. Yeah.
The vibe. So
Yeah.
this might be okay. This is the prime time, or this is kind of like the start. But I do it by tempo,
Right.
by BPM.
Yeah.
I don't want to put anything too high up there with something that's kind of like slow paced.
Right.
But yeah, just move to the nights, and then also I kind of do it by year.
Yeah.
So that kind of keeps me in track.
For sure.
What I like to do occasionally is I'll throw like some oldies, some classics
Right.
into what I'm playing nowadays, just to
Nice.
kind of change it up.
Yeah.
Because the crowd that you're playing for, some of them know the classics, but not everybody.
Right.
So it's kind of nice to kind of just throw it in there.
Yeah, and then you get those like old school house heads that are like, oh
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
he pulled this one out of the
Yeah, you don't want to
crates.
play them all back to back. But
No.
if you sprinkle them in,
Right.
you always get that one person that's never heard of it.
Right.
You make them a new fan, and obviously, for the
Yeah.
oldies, they were like, that was a good.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
It's I recently kind of I DJ'd a bunch, kind of all over the city, probably 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and I took like a 4-year break and just kind of wanted to focus on production and some other things, but I recently played for the first time at Burning Man when I went this
Oh,
year.
nice.
And it was just like, it just came right back to me. You know
That's
what I mean?
good.
And these were all new tracks because I had to rebuild my whole library. And I was really happy to realize that, like, just mixing by ear, and because nothing really, I hadn't put all some people put like, use the star function for like, certain things, or the comment section for, choosing tracks at particular times. But it was nice. I just hopped right back in the decks, and I was like, oh yeah, it's like riding a bike.
It is, and I find sometimes all new tracks are where you actually you shine a little bit because they're fresh. You've just picked them out, so you kind of know what they're playing that, and you had that something was in that track that said,
Yeah.
that's what I want to play.
Yeah.
And when you put a lot of those together, sometimes you can have a really good set.
Right.
As opposed to something that you're just used to playing all the time. You're just like, okay, I'm kind of bored of the song. I know the crowd likes it. I like it, but
Right.
I've gone that direction where it's just all new tracks.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I've had some of those tracks where people are like, that was actually pretty good. Where'd you get those? I'm like, I just downloaded those last weekend. Like, I haven't really played them that much, and it just worked out.
Right. I
So-
think that's why my sets were so much fun at Burning Man and then after, just because it was all fresh stuff.
Yeah.
So I knew. I mean, I took like literally like 3 or 4 nights, out many hours, just going through Beatport and my other various sources and. So I mean, it takes a long time. It takes a long time. I mean, there's a lot. There's more music than ever. And which is amazing. It's fantastic, but that also means that it's going to take you more time than ever to sort through it all.
Yeah, I find just folders with like not too many tracks in there is just better. Because you put too many tracks in there, you're just going to confuse yourself.
Right. So I tend to do. I have all of my songs grouped into genres, and then I make playlists, and the playlists kind of fit together.
Yeah.
And then so what I'll do is I know the playlist because what I do is it having that playlist titled as this party, this date, or whatever. I can remember that, and I can remember that vibe, and I can then I start pulling from all these different sets or whatever.
Yeah.
And for my brain that seems to work the best.
I've done that where I have different folders where depends on what time you're playing.
Right.
You don't want to be playing bangers when you're opening and so I'll do it by mood, by tempo, BPM.
Yeah.
And I'll just give that folder a title of the party or the venue that I'm actually playing at.
Yeah.
And those stay in my history. So if I ever need to come back to those,
right.
Let's say I'm going to go back to that venue, play around the same time again. I've got that track, and I can just change up what I've got in the folder.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
So tell me about your first show you ever played. What was that like?
All right. So the first one, that was actually pretty interesting. It was at the, so I couldn't say like a couple of the raves that I was playing at were memorable because they were just like, I was getting my feet wet. And, but I want to say the very first, I would say where I kind of feel like, okay, this is what I want to keep doing. And I felt like I accomplished it, whereas I got to play at the Kilts Hat Pavilion in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, wow.
And I opened up for Donald Glock.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So
that was your first gig?
That was my very first gig.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that I feel is, okay, I'm a DJ.
Okay, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
like
Not like
I said,
someone's living room or like...
Well, I mean, leading up to that, I'd played like house parties and like maybe one room, small warehouse parties.
Sure.
But nothing major. I mean, you're talking about maybe 50, 100 people there.
Right.
Where Kids Hat Pavilion, it's fairground.
Yeah.
And it was with DJ Liquid, and then I was told, and my cousin lined it up. He forgot, I threw him a demo, and he let some people listen to it, and he was just like, "You're flying out here, cousin." And I was just like, "Okay." So we got on a plane, and we went out there, and I played, and then there's Donald Glod, and we took a bunch of pictures, and I just remember that started a residency, so to speak, that I was coming out there in the Northwest, like every couple months.
Holy cow.
So for the next maybe 2-3 years, I was out there.
Wow.
And I remember there was a Lotus magazine that would come to these bigger parties. And at that point, it was at a warehouse called NAF, at the NAF warehouse.
Okay.
And those would be like 3-4 room rave parties, like big warehouse parties.
Are these legit rave parties?
They're legit.
Okay,
They're
okay.
legit. I mean,
okay.
you've got, tons of DJs, promoters. I mean, there's security.
Right. I don't mean like legit as in like a good party, but like back in the day there was like legit ones where everyone was on board and it was above ground, and then there was like the underground ones.
Like the map points and what have you.
Yeah.
No, this was legit.
Okay.
And I just remember being put in this Lotus magazine. I was just like, I still have it.
Nice.
It's in a box in my. You
gotta frame that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just remember, okay, I want to take a couple more of these. So I still have that memorabilia. But yeah, it was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember playing there for the New Year's Eve party. So it was basically 99 going into 2000.
Okay.
So I was on the big stage for that.
99 into 2000.
Yeah.
The what was it? Y2K.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just remember Prince. There was this white label by Prince with his vocal that said 2000, and I had played it. The ball drops. I just remember some random DJ comes up to me. He's like, "Can I play that in this room?" And I looked at the promoter and I said, "Is he cool?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll make sure you get it back." So, and I've never done this before. I dusted off the record, put it in the sleeve. I said, "Make sure I get this back."
Oh.
And he went and played it his set. And I got it back, and it was just a good party.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big. That's a lot of trust.
Oh yeah, because nobody. I mean, DJs are very like, "Hey, this is
right.
Dig for your own records. This is mine, and no, you can't play mine."
For sure. Yeah.
It was
some people would even delabel their their records, so people didn't train spot.
I just remember, there was always
Yeah.
like sometimes people would put like a sticker over it, so
Right.
you couldn't train spot, and
Yeah.
but no, it was a good time, and I just remember after that, I took a step back, and I just started really trying to figure out like what direction I wanted to go with DJing,
Yeah.
and that was around the time that everything kind of started shifting.
Right.
The house rooms got smaller,
Oh.
and so back then it was waves.
Okay.
So I just remember, the techno and trance house were always the three genres, and then you had drum and bass,
Right.
depending on how big the warehouses were.
Yeah.
4 rooms, and then it was 3. But yeah, for a time, house was like started getting into more of a smaller room.
Really? So
Yeah.
what were the bigger rooms?
Was techno and trance,
Techno and trance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that was around the same time as the massives started. So the massives
yeah.
started maybe, I would say, maybe late 98, 97. But there was a lot of us that still wanted that more intimate underground scene.
Right.
This was also a time where the massives would start charging $20 and up just to get in.
Holy cow.
But they had a lot more overhead.
Yeah, it was bigger sound systems and
Yeah.
more provisions and that sort of thing.
And I went to a couple, but I also I more or less wanted the more intimate, smaller parties. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I went towards.
Nice.
And then there was some of us that just said, you know what, maybe this is what we want to do, start going into the 21 and up scene. Because a lot of us were over 21 at this point.
Right.
Let's step away from the raves. Let's go to the 21 and up clubs. So that's where I kind of started shifting
Nice.
away from the rave scene and just going towards strictly
Yeah.
21 and up.
And electronic music really wasn't even in the clubs around this time, right? It was still mostly hip hop and top 40 and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you pretty much had to go to these parties to catch the electronic stuff.
Exactly. Or you'd have, the record shops were had their, like, they'd have their own parties.
Oh, nice.
Their own parties that you'd know about. Yeah.
Holy cow.
So
That's amazing. I think I went to maybe one of those parties where you had to like text and then get it was way before like iPhones, you know. You had to text and then you would get an address.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had to have a physical map and you had to figure out where, or maybe MapQuest or something.
there was a lot of that. There was either a number that you had to call,
Right.
or there's the MapQuest, or
Yeah.
then the basically a map point. You go
Yeah.
to one point, and they'll say, okay, you're going to go to that.
Right.
Okay, and then from here, you're going to talk to that person. And I just remember one of the best parties I've ever been to. Friends and family did it, and this was like a long time ago. It was in Oakland. I don't remember where it was, but it was just in the middle of nowhere, train tracks, big open field, and I just remember there was one single warehouse. But if you looked around, there was all these like, what do you call it? There was like these trailers that were emptied out, and the only thing that was inside the trailers were mattresses, decorations, and like trees, trees and just like branches, just to give you the feeling that you were outdoors, but you were indoors.
Whoa.
And
Like empty boxcars.
empty. They were just empty.
Wow.
And you look inside, there's people just hanging out.
That's so cool.
And you were just talking to your friends.
Right.
That was your chill room.
Yeah.
And I just remember looking around, and for no reason at all, there was coloring books all over the floors. There was pillows, and I just remember seeing a friend that I recognized from college.
Whoa.
And I looked at him, I'm like, how you doing? He's like, I'm doing so good. How about you? And he's like, we just gave each other a hug. A couple hours later, I actually see him laying down on a pillow, and then some random person just comes up, covers him up with a blanket, sits next to him, takes out a book, and starts reading to him.
Oh.
And we just said, this is the best thing. Like, it was awesome. Like, everybody was just like,
Wow.
it was a different thing back in the day.
Yeah.
Like,
This sounds like very Burning Man now. I mean, a lot of that stuff has kind of. I mean, festivals are still. You can find that stuff, but that vibe, that very kind of like nurturing vibe, has kind of, it's a Burning Man for sure.
Yeah.
Festivals these days, you go to Coachella, people might walk over you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Unfortunately.
or Snickers or
Or
something.
yeah,
There was
right.
none of that. Everything was just like, this is awesome. This
Wow.
is amazing. And you wanted to be more a part of that.
Right.
And
Right.
I miss those events too.
Yeah, yeah. That's originally what really drew me into electronic music. Is just the acceptance across the board, and the invitingness, it's
Yeah.
like everyone's invited as long as you're there for the music and you like the music,
Yeah.
and no bad vibes,
Yeah. Yeah. Like that, I was fortunate enough to run into a lot of people that just zero drama, a
Yeah.
lot of friends, making friends. I would go to parties by myself.
Right.
I
did
didn't know
that too.
anybody
Yeah.
because not a lot of people that I went to school with were even knew about raves, or I'd explain it to them. They weren't interested.
Really?
So I'd go by myself, and I'd meet people.
Yeah.
And that party would go into the next party. And pretty soon you start recognizing people. All of a sudden you're like your own clique.
Right.
And you're not trying to be cliquey, but these are people that recognize you. Now you're on a first name basis.
Yeah.
You call those people, hey, we're gonna go to a party. Okay,
It's a network.
See you there. Yeah, it's a network.
Yeah.
And then you start just seeing how far you could go as far as it's like how much party do you really want to do? Because
Yeah.
back then it was, okay, party started on Wednesday, you went to Thursday, Friday. This is when End Up was Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday.
Holy cow.
10:15 was on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
You go to Kit Kat on End Up on a Thursday.
Holy cow.
Spundays was there on a Sunday. And you'd go to weekend parties. Sunset outdoor parties were going on Sundays.
Sunset parties have been going for a lot longer than I realized.
Oh yeah.
I remember, I had a friend that was going to the sunset parties, and I didn't know anything about them, right? And so immediately I was like, oh, this must be some new party that's been going for a couple of years or something.
Oh,
but
no, it's been.
they've been going for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, when do you think they started? 90s, 2000s?
At least since I've been into it.
Yeah.
I mean, so I remember, like I said, so I go back to 95 is really when I started kind of going out more. 94 was just me kind of starting going to some parties, but 95 was really when I want to just hear any sound I can think of and go to parties and be a part of that, just so I could kind of develop my own sound from what I was hearing out at events. But yeah, I remember Sunset was just one of those parties that you just looked forward to.
It's over 20 years.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, and then they just got bigger with the campouts and those grow, and they're still doing it.
Right. I was just earlier. Mikey was here, Mikey Payton, and I was talking to him, and he was talking about the days of the 80s, San Francisco in the 80s. When Temple was Club DV8.
Oh yeah.
And and they had the Caribbean restaurant there, the Caribbean Zone. And I was talking to because I went to that when I was 12 or something, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And he was just talking about how back then it was I love hearing about this stuff, I love it, right? And he was talking about how it was just there would be places that you would try to go to that were hard to get in. Here in the city, we have a very healthy music scene, as good as it's ever been, I guess. But at certain points in time, there were it was difficult to get into some places, which we could, anywhere you want to go to in 2020, as long as you can pay the cover charge, you can pretty much get in,
Right.
But I just find it interesting that, he's like, back then, there would be lines around the block. And the only time I could think of that you would have difficulty getting in was the Dirty Bird Quarterlies at Mezzanine.
Okay.
Because they were so packed that there would literally be lines down the block.
Yeah.
And you might not get in at all. You might get, they might reach capacity.
You got to go early for those.
You got to go early, yeah.
Yeah. Those are fun too.
Yeah. It's fascinating, just how all these, and the End Up's been here forever, and 1015, and how all these things kind of roll over or just stay what they are and kind of evolve.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
We're pretty lucky here.
Yeah.
We got some good venues.
Yeah.
We can use some more, but
Sure.
for what we have, we're pretty good.
Right. I think we could use some more at the very least, just to combat the kind of influx of tech. It's kind of going to be this thing, right? We got apartments being built right back here, and there's already neighbors that complain at pretty much any venue, right?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of it's like, and there was I was reading an article that there was a law that was passed in San Francisco that states that there has to be provisions set aside for nightclubs and venues, especially if they've been around for a long time, right? Because the idea is if all these tech people come in and all this tech money and everyone wants a quiet neighborhood, and then then you don't have your city is now void of any entertainment, right?
Sure, yeah.
So there has to be some some red tape around there for these places being allowed to thrive.
There's always been a back and forth with that. I mean, I remember when Club 6 was a big deal.
Oh yeah.
And I did a couple events there. I'd play there, but yeah, even then, before, and now there's maybe something happens there every now and then.
Yeah.
But it's not what it used to be.
Right.
And that place is really nice, but problem is where it is. It's so close to the residential area.
Yeah.
And I just remember for a time they were closed for a good minute just to put more soundproofing in there.
Oh.
And it still wasn't enough.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah.
Well, some places, some owners have been really smart. Like I remember hearing that the guy that owns 1015 bought the building across, and I think maybe both on either sides of him.
Very smart.
Yeah, but like who's going to complain then?
No, right?
And the end up, I'm sure you're aware, used to be a hotel in the top half, and then they just closed it. It turned into residencies for a little while, but they're like, that's not working because of the sound system like most hours of every day. And so now it's just offices or offices for the employees, not even like rental offices, because they have rental offices. You can rent space above Temple. And I don't know if you've been up there, like when the party's going on, you can feel the floors moving. I mean, there's no, you better be okay with loud music, otherwise you're not getting any work done there.
I think that's kind of what you have to do.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Make sure you got nobody that's gonna, mess up your business.
Right. And if you're going to move into a place, the article that I was reading too was saying that like, a lot of these people that are renting out these places will have the commodities and the exciting places to go to in the listings, and it'll say next to music venues and nightclubs and stuff, and they use that as a selling point. But then these people move in and they're like, well, I didn't realize it was going to be so loud, and it's like, well, come on.
That's the biggest thing that a lot of us will say was like, well, you knew where you were living and you knew there was a venue here. Why would you even bother? You come here and now you want to complain.
Right.
It's
stupid.
I don't think that part's ever going to go away.
No.
Yeah.
No. And also too, I mean, you might, I guess, just to play devil's advocate, you might move in when you're in your 20s, and most people hang on to their places, right? So the time you reach your 40s, like maybe you're like, well, I'm kind of over this,
I could get
but they have the golden handcuffs, and you can't move anywhere else because like I have a friend that lives in the Tenderloin, and she's going through the same thing. It's like, her place, if she was going to move somewhere else, it would be an extra $1,000 every month. And she's kind of fed up with the car alarms and the crackheads and just all this stuff, but she's got a great location, right
You're
downtown.
You're going to get that anywhere in the city pretty much?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, even the Sunset, I mean, it's pretty rare, but there are the occasional, crackhead and homeless person. Out there, you're more just kind of homeless and not on crack.
Right.
Yeah. So, what can you tell me about some of the like more underground parties you've played at?
How far should I go back?
I don't know. I like history.
So there's a venue in Oakland that used to be around, and they've changed, but it was Oasis, and that was a beautiful spot. So
Really?
So basically it was a family restaurant that they'd play reggae, and they opened up. I remember. I forget the year, but I just remember there was always events going on during the week, on the weekends. And it just became like a lot of kind of like your go-to back in the day, where San Francisco, if you couldn't get a venue available in San Francisco, you're going to do it in Oasis.
Nice.
In Oakland.
Yeah.
And it was on 12th Street, and it was huge indoor-outdoor. And you could do your party all day.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
is it just like industrial in that area?
No, they're all restaurants.
Wow.
But this place was just a huge lot. So, and there was I want to say 2 bars inside. They had a grill pit inside in the main area.
No kidding.
And that was basically indoors.
Wow.
And then the top of it was basically a canopy. So if it rained, it would be covered. If they caught it in time, sometimes the party might get canceled.
Oh shit.
But a huge outdoor area with like sofas and chairs and what you name it.
Right.
And it was awesome.
Wow.
I miss that spot. So we did a lot of undergrounds there.
Wow.
And I just remember there was a period I was doing a monthly there, and I had like DJ Heather from Chicago come out. We had Iz and Diz. Who else? I mean, we had a lot of people.
Move this a little closer to you.
We had a lot of people out there. And for a while, it was successful. And basically there was a group of promoters that basically took their turns in doing their events there.
Wow.
And then eventually the venue got sold, and now it's one of those like tap rooms or that
like a Drake's or something.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was a venue that we don't have anymore. Then we go to maybe a smaller venue like Bricks 581.
Oh yeah.
But I just remember what I did back in the day in the 90s when I started wanting to say, okay, there was a fly in here. There was friends that I would say, hey, let's do an event. Yeah. So I just remember our go-to underground was a loft. So you just found somebody that had a loft and wanted to rent out their space.
Right. And
they would clear out their living room and lock their doors on their bedrooms. But when you got there, you basically brought your own sound. And you charged whatever,
right.
But you had a phone number that you would call, and you would go all night. That'd be like a 10 to 6, or maybe I remember parties on average would go till about 8 back in the day.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was fun.
Oh man.
But it was always at somebody's warehouse or loft, because that was a big thing back in the day. It was always at somebody, because a lot of people lived in warehouses.
Sure.
Industrial areas, or a loft that was in an industrial area.
Yeah.
And if you could have a 2-room out of it, you were even better, because then you can have 2 rooms of music. That was a big thing back in the day. Everyone's like, oh, we got 2 rooms of music,
right? More
DJs.
Yeah.
And these 2 rooms of music have different styles of music playing in each.
Yeah.
And that's what you wanted. You didn't want to have 1 room of house music all entire night for 10 to 8.
Right.
You wanted to have a little change.
Yeah.
But we used to do parties under the moniker, it was called open house back in the day. Yeah.
I like that.
And then we stopped doing parties for a while. It was actually me and my twin brother.
Okay.
Who also DJs. I actually got him into DJing. But I'll get to that. So he was my partner for a while, because he was a graphic artist. So he made all our flyers. And then my friends and I would just go canvas anywhere we could. This was when you had to go to parties and physically pass out flyers. Yeah. There was no website you could go to.
Right. No Facebook.
No social media.
It's so easy nowadays.
Yeah. We didn't have text numbers to call or to text like a list to anybody.
Yeah.
You literally had to go to every party you could with your flyers.
Right.
And we did all your
put them on the cars, put them on the poles.
Cars, poles.
Yep.
And just and that's how you got your crowd.
And at the events, you'd put them on. There'd be a table, or you put them in the bathroom, or.
Well, it was better if you physically handed it to people, because that's what people wanted. I mean, people. Okay. I remember at one particular party, like, I was nervous because this was my first time promoting myself, and I just remember holding a stack, and it was awesome. People would actually say, "Can I have one?" Whoa. And I was like, "You can definitely have one. You want more? Okay, give them to your friends." And that was better for us.
Right.
And that was always how we got our events out there.
Yeah. I love flyers, man. Yeah. I love, like, there's such a nostalgia to it, and like the artwork that goes into it is often really great, and they're just, you pack all this text and info into this little, whatever they are, like 10 by 6 or something. And eventually I want to, this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but of course I moved many times and kind of lost my boxes, but I want to start collecting flyers, and then one day in my, I'd like to have a podcast studio and a recording studio, and have one room, maybe the green room, it's just plastered with club flyers.
Oh,
party flyers.
Those are my bedroom was just wall to wall covered with all the flyers that I had.
Sick.
And then obviously every time I moved, it got annoying, because I was like, okay,
you pull each one off.
Yeah, all the tape, make sure I'm not messing up the flyers. Right. But now they're all in shoe boxes. I have those with all the cassette tapes that I still have, because that was another thing you got around to promote yourself as a DJ.
Oh my God, cassette tapes.
Yeah. It was costly, but it helped.
Yeah. I have a buddy that made a lot of money selling mixtapes back, back when in the days of vinyl, before, when CDs were like $20 a pop.
Yeah.
And at that time, you maybe got it was popular for these record labels to put like 2 or 3 songs on there that were good, and the rest was just kind of filler.
Yeah.
And so when you had something like this, you get a cassette tape. You know, and everyone's car had a cassette tape player.
Yeah, right.
Then you maybe get a cassette tape for $5 or $10 or something.
Yeah.
And you knew that like these were curated songs, and it was hard to get new music, right? I mean, you had to sift for a while, or for a long while, or hope that had friends that could give you something good. But these cassette tapes were like gold, and then one of my buddies made a lot of money selling those things.
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually that was a good time. Yeah, because vinyl records themselves were just expensive.
Yeah.
If you try to press your own, and when you're buying records, I just remember domestic records were like $6, $7, and then imports were always like $10.99 and up.
Right.
And maybe you got that one good song, maybe 2.
Right.
And you're like, man, this is expensive.
Yeah.
And then if you try to press your own records,
Oh man.
it was just something that I wanted to do, just never did it.
I would like to get a vinyl lathe one day. And I know it's ambitious, they're costly and they're hard to maintain, that sort of thing, but I feel like that would be a cool thing to do. Even if you just even if I could make my house music and then press it to a dub plate, and then just record that back into a wave or an MP3 and distribute it that way, just like an extra little cool bit of
You'll be everybody's contact at that point.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Hey, I heard.
I heard you got a dub plate maker. Yeah,
I got this.
Right. Yeah, that'll be fun. I was actually looking into that recently, and there are places. There's places in the UK. There's places. I think in there's 1 or 2 places out here on the West Coast. There's a couple on the East Coast, but there are places you can pay. I want to say it's like $75 or $100, and you can have your stuff pressed to a dub plate, and then they'll send it to you.
A lot of the vinyl that I had was pressed in the UK.
Really?
I noticed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even local.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm always looking at it, but I guess it's maybe more cost effective.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know. Like, do you buy blank vinyl and then you cut it, or do you have to mold your own?
No idea. I'll find a YouTube video.
Yes,
we'll find out together.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to research this now. Yeah. That's amazing. So I don't think I actually said this, but you are a resident here at Halcyon.
I am. Yeah.
So how do you go from playing these smaller parties, and then I guess opening for Donald Glaude, pretty big deal back in the day, but getting to the point where you're able to become a resident DJ in a notable city like this?
For me, it's always where, I don't know. I've just been going out for so long that I just know the right people. I've gotten lucky. I've been fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Where if I am playing in a smaller venue, most of the venues around I've played at.
Right.
And it's just making contacts, reaching out to people, really.
Yeah.
Keeping up with social media, making sure that you've got your SoundCloud or Mixcloud links up to date.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't do that, but
right.
It's just about just getting yourself out there.
Yeah.
The other thing is just and I think it's a big thing. It's just me grouping up with other DJs.
Right.
We do our Substance, Sunshine people.
Yeah.
I feel after quite a few years, people kind of know that name. They associate the DJ with it as well.
Right.
But for me, since I've been around for a while, I don't want to feel like, oh yeah, I'm tuning my own horn. But no, I just got lucky, just knowing the right people. Yeah.
Yeah, network is everything, really. I mean, and showing up to the events too. I feel like, for me anyway, so much of it was just going to these events.
Right.
Right. Even before I was DJing, and then people, oh, you DJ too? Yeah. And then but yeah, really, it's just, and then I feel like too, once you've DJ'd for a while around other people's parties, to a certain degree, you just start oh, you got friends that are doing this one thing, and let me help out with that. And then you start throwing these things, and it kind of evolves a little bit into that,
Yeah, I find that if you show support, you're gonna get that in return somehow, even if you're not looking for it. It's better to go into it where you're not looking to get anything in return.
Yeah,
and that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I always kind of keep things on a humble level. I feel that if I get that opportunity, great. And if I don't get it at that point, I'll eventually get it.
Right.
But I'm still going to support you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the key things a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
About this, how you get to where you're at.
Right. It can't just be book me, book me, book me. It's got to be.
No. You got to show support. You got to show face. And I know it's not easy for everybody because everybody's got, some people have jobs, some people have families, or maybe you don't have the money to go out.
Right.
But there are ways you can show support without always having to constantly go out.
Totally.
I don't constantly go out.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really consistently gone out, but if there's somebody that has my respect, I'm going to support that person. Or if I like your music, I'm going to come support you.
Right.
And I'm at least going to, say hi.
Yeah.
It's all about showing face.
Yeah.
But also keeping humble. You just can't. I just said that there's a few people that they get a little bit kind of upset. They're just not where they want to be.
Right.
And they have a little bit of animosity. But I don't feel like this type of music scene is that belongs.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to get where you're going to go or where you want to go if you have that type of attitude.
Right.
So.
And you got to take the gigs as they come too. I mean.
Exactly.
I played many parties that were just like there's no one there. You're opening. Or maybe the physical place is tiny. But it's all just again you might do this one event that has one person there. That takes note or whatever, or sees you or whatever, and just stacking those up and being a part of the scene, really.
I feel just some people want to kind of like jump hurdles to get where they want to go without putting in the time. Yeah. It takes time.
Yeah, it really does. So in 2020, what do you think are the best ways to promote these days? And we just talked about flyers and handing them out.
I'm big on social media.
Yeah.
I feel like if you have basically, if you're really keeping up on social media, that's your way, because if you're not constantly going out and showing face, how else are people going to get to know who you are? Right. Throw some mixes out there, but don't overdo it.
Yeah. Right.
And then just making the right contacts. It will eventually happen. Yeah. I feel San Francisco is one of the. You won't hear this from everybody, but I feel like I've had a pretty good experience getting myself out there.
For sure.
I haven't played at every venue, but I'm also not bad about it either. Yeah. Right. I'm fine with where I'm at. Yeah. I can always kind of feel like I can go higher. Yeah. And I'll get there when the time is right. Right. But in 2020, social media for me is, if you don't have a Twitter, try Twitter. Right. If you don't have a Mixcloud or a SoundCloud, try one of those. Yeah. Put some mixes out on there. The biggest thing, you can't just tell somebody to book you if they don't know what you sound like. Right. Also, social media lets other people know that you actually have some followers. You have some people interested in what you're doing. Yeah. Also, social media is a good character builder or kind of a look into. Promoters want to see what kind of character you are.
It's like your business card.
It's your business card. Yeah. So if you're kind of on there and just, everybody's got their jokes, which is fine. But if you're there and you're just kind of, you're an a-hole all the time, people are going to look at it going, you're not the right person to represent my club or my venue. Exactly, right. So it's how you carry yourself. And that goes all back to how you are on social media. Right. And you can't just be negative Nancy all the time and say, oh, I'm not playing here. Or you can't be a hater towards other clubs.
Oh, this party sucked.
Yeah, if you're bad mouthing the venue or the DJ, or other DJs, you're not the kind of person that they want. No. And then obviously Facebook is a big thing. Yeah. But Instagram, Instagram is perfect for people seeing like you're going out to places. Mm-hmm. Tag people, show pictures of you. Stories. Yeah. Right. I can do better stories, but
some people have their strengths and weaknesses.
I can do a lot better stories.
Yeah. But I have this weird thing where I want, because I'm a photographer, right? So I want my wall. I probably am like over analyzing this, but like I want my wall to be like photos that I like that are like good photos. Yeah. But then my stories are just like whatever. Right. But some people are the opposite. Some people are just like, my wall is like everything, and I don't do stories.
Yeah. But if you got the social media down, and then people, again, it's just name recognition, getting out there to meet people. Yeah. Then pretty soon it'll turn around.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually back in the day, probably 2008, I met my friend Monica Neary. Still friends with her, and I was just on Twitter, and I don't remember what I was doing, but I saw like she made a post or something, and then I hit her up, and I was like, hey, are you going to this this festival, or it was a rave or something? And she's like, yeah, blah blah, you should come with my friends or whatever. And this was like, early days of Twitter, really, and
Right.
and sure enough, like, it's 12 years, and we're still friends. And she literally like introduced me to, I'd say maybe half of the people that I know in the scene,
Nice.
who are still doing stuff. They're a couple years younger, but it just goes to show that, like, that one little interaction that and of course, I think I was putting mixes out and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, having your kind of your wall, so to speak,
Right.
is professionally. I was also I think I was on Reddit, and I was reading a thread, and they were like, well, I don't really do Facebook, and Facebook, I log in like once a year, and but it was like a DJ subreddit, and I'm just thinking, like, man, you couldn't even operate in San Francisco as a DJ if you don't have Facebook, right?
Yeah.
That's just it's I don't Facebook's fine, it's whatever, it's not my favorite of the platforms, but you really do you need it, right, as well as the physical appearance. And like, I've known there's people that come here to Halcyon who I just see them every weekend. They're always here, and I know their name and I know their face, and
Right.
I think if you just show up enough times too, you'll just become a familiar face.
Yeah, I think Halcyon's been pretty good at that. They're probably one of the better venues that actually opens up to up and coming artists.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And even just people in the crowd.
Yeah.
Big community vibe here.
Yeah. And because I just remember other venues, they're more of the, either there's one person that's booking the people, but they're booking their friends a lot.
Yeah.
It's more cliquey.
Right.
But Halcyon, for me, like in my eyes, like changed that quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So you said
they're top of my book right now.
Yeah, me too. Obviously, I'm a bit biased.
Yeah.
So you said you got your brother into DJing.
Yeah. So I just remember. Okay. So the funny thing is, I'm going to these raves, and I'm meeting people. I'm coming back, and he's in his room, and I mean, we're twin brothers, by the way.
Okay.
He was never interested.
Thought you guys looked alike.
Oh yeah. He was never interested in going to parties. So the more I tried to explain it to him, the more he didn't get it. He goes, I got to go to one, and I was like, okay. And I just remember the first one we went to, the party got broken up, and all he did is complain all the way home. He's like, you wasted all your time and gas to get out here, because I remember it was at a bar in Fremont. Because those are the times where you didn't know where you were going.
Yeah.
You knew what city you were going to, but these are venues that you've never been to.
Right.
Because everything back in the day, unless they were at the same warehouse, you were going to a different venue. There were ice skating rinks, there were bars, there were warehouses, lofts, a restaurant.
Wow.
That might be in the middle of like a transition period.
Right.
I mean, it could be any place.
Yeah.
And I just remember the first time was a bar. We walk in. And he was like looking left and right. He's like, "What's this?" And I was like, "I said, hang on, we just got here."
Right.
He immediately wanted to leave, and we wanted to leave because the sound system was actually not that great. And I just remember the promoter was apologetic. Says, "Sorry guys, the speakers never showed. This is what we have."
Paramackies.
And it was just really loud. Not even that loud. We're just like, it was almost like you can hear the pool.
Oh no!
Stick and the pool ball was like louder than that. Where I was like, okay, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But it was free, and I just remember being on the road heading home.
Yeah.
But that's all we had planned that night. So we went home, and he's like, I'm not going to go to another one. And the second party I took him to was at the Pittsburgh skating rink, and I just remember we walk in, and he's like, what's going on with all this smoke? There was a smoke machine.
Okay.
But it's a skating rink, so
Right.
I thought it was a little overboard.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there going, no, it smells like smoke. I just told him, I said, but how do you feel about the music? He's like, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And I just remember I had to work the next morning. This is when we, a lot of us worked, or went to school and worked on the weekends. And I just remember I had to be at work, or I had to be up at 7. And I just remember it's 2 o'clock. It's time to go. I can't find my brother. And I see him, and I look at my friends, I go, He's getting into it.
Oh, yeah.
And I tap him on the shoulder. I go, we got to go. I got work in the morning. He's like, I'll find my way home. And I was like, I said, are you serious? I said, who do you know here? He's like, hold on. This is my friend Teresa. And I go, hi, Teresa. And they just met. And they're having a ball.
Wow.
I said, are you coming? And she goes, well, I live in Concord. And he's like, oh, I got to go home then. So we leave, and he couldn't stop talking about it.
Oh.
And that was when he wanted to start going. So after that, he would just see me playing vinyl.
Right.
And I just remember, I said, if you want to really get into this, you got to start practicing. And he's like, all right, give me some records. And so I just remember I would group the records I felt went together, and I would have him practice. Pretty soon, now that I'm going record shopping all the time, I said, those are your records now. So then he got a record bag, and then a record crate, and then he got his own turntables, and then the rest.
He got bit by the bug.
Yeah.
Wow.
So next he was just like, I mean, but before that vinyl transition happened, he was like, when's the next party you're going to?
That's so good.
Yeah.
So do you guys ever do like B2Bs or anything?
We have.
Yeah.
We've gone. So we go under the name Twin Soul.
Nice.
But I mean, he doesn't get to go out as much. I mean, he's got kids now. He lives in San Jose.
Okay. Yeah.
But we actually played here together one night.
Nice.
And it was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was that recently?
No, it was last year, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe just before I started, or maybe when I was just starting here.
Yeah, because I've been playing since 2017 here, and it was it had to have been 2018, I want to say.
Okay.
Or early 2019.
Yeah.
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 But it was fun to have him here with me. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So how have you seen the scene change since you've been playing here in the city?
A lot of us are now getting older to where either, there's DJs that want to tap out because they're not where they want to be.
Yeah.
Or some of us are now just getting more into heavily producing.
Sure.
A lot of us DJs, I mean, there's some friends of mine that have been producing since the early days, but there's some of us, including myself, who are now just saying we kind of want to get that next step.
Yeah.
So we're kind of late bloomers. I call myself a late bloomer.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of, if you really want to go somewhere or travel, you got to start producing your own music.
Yeah.
I used to be a DJ and a promoter where I did my own events because I got tired of seeing the same people at the same events all the time, or it'd be cliquey.
Right.
And you're not on our clique, so we're not going to book you. We're going to book the same people. And there was a lot of that happening. So, so for a while, I did my own events. But I think now, as we're older, some of us have families, some of us just got married. We can't do events like we used to.
Yeah.
So now we're just kind of riding, the wave of like, okay, we're just gonna, DJ and we're gonna start producing.
Yeah.
Where I see things going is kind of, I think, obviously, the crews that we saw, like smaller, like, Dirty Bird and what have you, like Sunset. I mean, all they're gonna do is grow.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be like EDC status, like Two Daisy Carnival, but.
Right.
I think a lot of us have just made general careers out of doing what we love. Mm-hmm. And some of us want to say, okay, we've got our side jobs, but it'd be nice to kind of transition into doing this full time.
Yeah.
So that's what I would like to do.
Right.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But
it seems like pretty much everybody. I mean, the people that really love it, the diehards that are never going to give it up. I mean, you always you find a way to pay the bills,
right.
And then you have you are a part of the music scene as much as you can be, right?
Yeah.
All things considered. But yeah, it's that's what I like about electronic music specifically is there's just the shelf life is seemingly endless. I mean, you can get started DJing at 17, 18, right? And you hit 21 and you're finally able to play in these clubs or at least, have a drink in the clubs if
Right.
you've already been playing in the clubs. And then, as you get older, like your skills just get better. And some people really don't even get all that great until they're in their 30s.
Yeah. It
And
takes
then
a while.
and then you feel like you've just gotten started, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then and there's I always talk about the guys in Cosmic Gate. They're one of them's in their 50s. I think Tiesto's probably in his late 40s.
There's a lot of people that are still out there.
I don't see any. They're not slowing down anytime soon.
No.
Even Cascade's got to be getting up there.
Oh, yeah. Derek Carter, Carl Cox.
Yeah.
But what I do notice, and this is just for the last maybe 4 or 5 years, I'm noticing a lot of the younger crowd is really stepping up as far as producing. Like they're producing early on, and maybe some of them are starting to produce before they actually start getting out there to play. Yeah, which I wish I kind of done.
Sure. It was a different time, though.
It was a different time, yeah.
Back then, you had to, you had to fork out, $2,000 for a MPC or something, and then that's all you had. You had an MPC, maybe you had a couple speakers and a bag of records, and that's kind of where the house and the hip hop sound came from.
You had no more money for anything.
You had no more money, right?
Yeah.
But now, if you're getting started in music, you can pay for a copy of Ableton or FL Studio or whatever, or you can get it for free, however you end up doing that. But the barrier to entry has never been lower, and so I think that's what we're seeing now is a lot of these younger people getting started. They are starting with, it's kind of like both are happening at the same time, right? Where a lot of us, I got started with production first, so I started producing music before I ever DJ'd really, and I don't think I started DJing until I was probably like 27, 28. And I have a funny story. I had a college roommate that was a DJ, and again, I was just making music. I had like a hardware sampler and stuff. But my whole thing in college, he was the only DJ I really knew, and my whole vision of what a DJ was at that time was, college parties and staying up till 5 a.m. and scratching on records, and I'm like trying to sleep, and I hear my roommate just, and I was like, oh, like DJs suck, like who would want to be a DJ, Right. But that was a very skewed perspective, and then I came down here and I was like, oh, like this is what DJing is, And I was like, fuck, this is amazing. And so obviously I fell in love with it. But yeah, it's funny. So I guess I started more with like the production and kind of had to catch up with the DJing. Yeah. But a lot of these people that are starting now are really, really pretty lucky,
Oh yeah. And then everything's more kind of festival driven too, that I'm noticing.
Oh yeah.
There's new ones popping up all the time where I'm just like, I've never heard of that.
Right.
But if it keeps DJs touring, then that's a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just good for the industry in general. I mean, there was an article I was reading the other day with Pascal from EDC. Yeah, guy started EDC.
I know him personally.
Do you?
So
nice.
I have a funny story. So back in was it in the 90s? So we always used to go to LA. LA was like our kind of, hey, let's hop over to LA, go to some raves over there. And we'd go to like Juju Beats and Animaniacs. Okay. And I just remember, so I went with my friend Jeremy. We go to Juju Beats, and then we were there for the weekend, and we hop over to Animaniacs. And then these guys were in line, passing out their flyer, and I just remember LA always had the bigger, crazy big flyers for no reason.
Like full paper size?
Oh, full paper size. Like almost like half a menu. You'd find like back. Yeah. And we're like, whoa. And I just remember, they were promoting Electric Daisy Carnival at the Shrine Auditorium. So, that's not a big venue, but that's where we met them. Wow. And I just remember we're dancing. And then another thing that we noticed is San Francisco, if you were in the rave scene, we had our own dancing style. So I just remember there's a little crowd and me and my friend are dancing. And so here comes Pascal and his friend, and it's KC was his name, and he was just like, "Where are you guys from?" We're like, "Oh, we're from the Bay Area. We're from San Francisco." We're like, "We knew it." We're like, "Yeah," and we just got to chatting, and Pascal was like, hands me a flyer. He's like, "Hey, come to my party." We're like, "All right, we'll be there." We live in San Francisco, but we'll come out. He's like, "Well, you guys are my guests now," and we're like, "All right, cool." And we had no idea what we're just like Electric Daisy Carnival, because that's when the full name was like Electric Daisy Carnival. Yeah. And we had no idea what kind of party we were going to go to. We just said, Shrine Auditorium's huge, that's somewhere at USC. All right, let's go. So we brought a bunch of our friends there. And I just remember we were their guests, and we kept in touch for a few years. We lost touch after that because, again, there's no social media.
Yeah.
And we weren't going out to LA, consistently. But
Sure.
I remember that second week we went out there, they treated us so well. Like, we
Wow.
basically stayed at Pascal's house. We went to, so we had our full moon parties. They had their full moon parties, which is out in the middle of the desert. And I've never seen anything like it.
Wow.
It was the best experience I ever had. And we were out in the middle of the desert. And then they had their own, like, Sunday in the park that was nothing like our sunset parties. It was just literally a park with park benches, not as big as what our sunset parties were, but they had their own version.
Wow.
And I just remember I almost lost my job over it because, so I had Monday and Tuesday off, and now it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I'd been there since Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm like, hey, you guys, I should probably go back to work. And my friend didn't have to go back to work yet. Again, we're in college at this point.
Sure.
So I'm like thinking of an excuse to call in sick. So I call my office. They're like, no, we need you here tomorrow or tonight if you can make it. I was like,
You're still in LA at this point.
I'm still in LA. And I won't say how it worked out, but I got to stay there another day. But that was one of the things where we're like, okay, we had such a good time. We don't go back home. And I still remember that we're like, I almost lost my job just hanging out with the guy.
Amazing.
But it was all his friends that were there too.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a good
Wow.
time.
So, I mean, it started as just, I mean, it sounds like that was a big venue for that area, but, I mean, what, like 3,000 people or something? Like,
Roughly.
Still.
But again, for where he's at now, I mean,
Right.
I'm proud of the guy. He was
Totally.
able to take it to another level.
Yeah.
Where it's, obviously, I mean, look at where he's at.
Right. Right.
And
Probably one of the biggest in the world outside of, outside of Burning Man. But Burning Man, it's hard to call it it's not really a festival.
And I was there since the beginning. Like, I went to Burning Man when it was like, what was it? My first time was in '96.
Yeah.
We paid, I think our ticket was like $45.
Holy shit.
And that was when you just drove right up and then found your area. There was one dance area. It's called Rave Camp, which was set like maybe a mile and a half away from the general camp because that was where the music was going to be.
Yeah.
Problem was it was a little dangerous because there was no lights in between.
Oh, shit.
And you had to literally walk or, with flashlights or drive your way over there. But that's how it was when I first started. And I think I went a few years later. I think my second time was like 99.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen the music section grow as
It's taken
gotten
over
bigger.
now.
But I would hate to call it a festival. That's what
Yeah.
I don't want Burning Man to become.
Yeah.
But sadly, it's almost there because I went 4 or 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't believe how much more the music camps have just gone up.
They're everywhere. I mean, every
And-
camp basically has a sound system.
Yeah, and then the night of the burn, all you can see is you're just seeing all the lights and all the music.
Just
and
LEDs
you're just
everywhere.
Like, wow, this
Yeah.
is very different from,
Yeah, I
from
can imagine.
how it was.
Right.
And I feel like you get to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
I feel like the music is taken away from the initial experience that I had, and you're never going to have an experience like your first time at Burning Man.
Right.
But I just remember my very first time, you were more into meeting people and greeting people. There wasn't so much, drinking and partying involved.
Right.
It was
Right.
just generally like, I met a guy from Australia, Africa. Just everybody was just all walks of life wanting to just really sit down and get to know you.
Yeah.
And saying what a beautiful space we're in, and we're
Yeah.
meeting each other in the middle of the desert. Share some tea with one another.
Right.
And nice to meet you.
Yeah.
You have a good burn, and you just go on and you meet other people.
Right.
And I just remember the first time we were so ill prepared. There was about 10 of us. We had 2 hatchbacks. And what we did for our camp, it was so funny. We had we bought a bunch of rugs, but the hatchbacks, we put the hatches up, the trunks up, or the backs up.
Yeah.
And put a tarp over and a big carpet underneath. That was our shade. And then we brought tents, like normal tents.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was our first year.
Holy shit.
And I still have a picture of it. And the hilarious thing is and didn't really, there was, hardly any dust storms, so we got lucky. But I just remember we'd go out and explore. We'd come back. The tarp is maybe it's still hanging off on one rope that we tied.
Yeah.
The carpet's like way over there. We got to go run and get our carpet and rebuild. But the second time I went was in RVs.
Nice.
So we improved.
That's how I want to go. I mean, I've been once, but I already want to get an RV. You know, I mean, I went with a very established camp, which was nice. Kind of a perfect amount. It was like 40 people, 45, something like that.
Okay.
Which was fantastic. And I mean, you know, water and you know, plenty of commodities. We had a kitchen, you know, built into a box truck and that sort of thing, and the kind of military shades and that sort of thing. And I mean, it's just I can't even imagine going with just tents and.
And we did it, and back then it was. I mean, that was the
survived.
very first time, and you could actually take off saying, you know what, I'm going to go to that local market, get more supplies.
Whoa!
All right, we'll be here.
You could leave. And
you could
then come
literally
back.
leave and come back and go to. There was one local market.
Okay.
And they always had their
Just
supplies.
cashing it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's before it blew up. And,
Yeah.
And now it's just like you got to have everything with you. You're not leaving.
Yeah. Right. What is it? I think it's past 100,000 people now, right?
Yeah, I bet.
Right around there.
Yeah.
Because even like, you know, something like Lightning in the Bottle feels massive, but then you go to something like Burning Man and it's mind blowing.
Yeah, Lightning in a Bottle. Like I'll eventually make it there.
Yeah.
It's
a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I heard.
Yeah. The vibes are very good. The vibes are very kind of, you know, very similar to Burning Man. It's difficult. There's kind of the Coachella crowd, which has also kind of moved into. And I'm not dissing Coachella. It's you know, it's a great festival, but you know, anybody would be lying if they said that there wasn't this kind of like fashion show feel to a lot of it, right? Which has even made its way into Burning Man, you know. And I remember I was on on the Facebook Burning Man group, and you know, it was like it's a thing now to where if you see people like, you know, in their Burning Man costume outfits, you know, these you know, Instagram models, and people will, you know, drop their pants and like stick their butt in the photo. You know what I mean? Just to ruin the photo, you know.
Yeah.
But again, radical inclusion, right? It's like, you
exactly.
know, it's a city. You know, and so you gotta, for better or for worse, you all of that is invited. You know?
Yeah. I'm supposed to go back this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This year, or you were supposed to go back?
I'm supposed to go back this year.
Nice. You think you'll make it?
That's the plan. Well, that's the plan at least. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it works out.
Yeah. So I have a couple friends getting married in France, and it's like a week apart from Burning Man.
Okay.
And so a number of things have to play out. I'm going to try to do both.
Yeah.
I, of course, I have to go to my friends getting married in France, right? Because that's a big deal.
Right.
There'll always be more Burning Mans,
Of course.
hopefully.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to do both. But then also, you know, every weekend that I take off here is I'm skipping a paycheck. So
Yeah, that's true. And
You know?
it's costly to do Burning Man now.
yeah, it is. It is. I mean, for the tickets alone, and then tickets are what, 500, 400 something.
I think I paid $3 something.
Okay.
When I went what, 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
Can't remember,
I think
it's
it's
4 or
right
5,
around the same. But then you
Around.
also, if you go with a camp, which you probably should, there's, you know, camp fees and that sort of thing, and so it gets up there, and then
Oh, it definitely gets up there. So you're there for like what, a week?
right,
Yeah.
right. But fuck, what a great.
But worth it.
Yeah, worth it.
Yeah.
I have after going, I just had I told people this all the time, as I felt like a burner that just had never been, because I've always like built weird things, and I've been into music, you know, for as long as I can remember, and you know, weird projects and sort of thing. So I was kind of like very, you know, open-minded. So, you know, once I went, I was like, oh yeah, this is like I'm all about it. But I've got you know, I've had friends that have tried to talk me down from having an art car. Because it's a whole undertaking. It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't help but think that I would love to be a part of one of those, or a stage. You know, and I guess of all the people that maybe should be a part of something like that, like I might be a good person, because I do sound. You know, I do lights, that sort of thing. But I think that would be really cool. You know, Carl Cox is a big part of Playground.
Yeah.
One of the biggest stages there.
Yeah.
It was just fucking mind blowing.
Oh, I'm the pyrotechnics.
The pyrotechnics.
Was crazy.
I mean, they light up and it's like daylight.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I remember. I was like.
Yeah. And there's just techno playing.
Just
yeah. Like
That was an awesome show.
insanity. It feels like, it really does feel like Mad Max.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's funny because I usually go with DJs, but we've never got to the let's do a camp, let's do a sound camp.
Right.
We're happy with just experiencing it, having our own little setup,
Yeah.
play when we want, but then go out and
Sure.
go experience everybody else's camp.
Sure.
That way, there's not a whole lot of work we have to put.
Well,
in.
that's a thing too. Is I mean, if you take on, I mean, you end up working, right? I mean, you're now
Which isn't a
working.
bad thing, but I mean, just setting up our own camp was a workout.
Yes,
I mean,
right.
we're sitting there sweating bullets, and we're like,
barely surviving.
okay, all right, I need some water, I need a break.
Yeah. It's gnarly, man.
But I give people credit for actually putting all that work to give people an experience and setting
Yeah.
up their own thing camps.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of stuff the sheer amount of effort and work that goes into it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
to bring the 747 out there, the piece
Yeah.
of that, like, I just, housing, keeping keeping it in a warehouse and working on it for an entire year, and then it just never stops. I would imagine, you constantly are doing these things, and I mean, so maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll just be a part of a camp, and
Yeah,
we'll see.
That's kind of where we're leaning, because it was funny. We had what was it, a couple years ago? We're like, hey, you guys want to do a camp? And everyone's like, no.
No.
It also comes down to obviously you got to do a lot of fundraising,
Sure.
and
Right.
we just prefer to just experience what's already there.
Yeah.
It's
Or
kinda-
just have a bunch of money. But
yeah. I mean, there's already so many sound camps as it is. Like, why
Right.
add
yeah.
to just be another one?
Sure.
It's just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a ton. I mean,
There's a ton,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of mind blowing. It's amazing though. I mean, we had a pretty good little setup, a little EAW setup, a couple subs, and
Yeah.
2 tops, and it was enough, man. We had, I mean, you really don't need much.
No,
No. Unless you're trying to do one of those massive camps.
True, yeah.
But it's a good time.
yeah, and you get the right neighbors, and everybody's grooving. And
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about, I think, the entire thing was once I realized and was told that, like, DJs that go out there play just exactly what they want.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there's no pressure to, if you get booked and you're known for something out here in the kind of real world, and you're, well, I don't want to stray too much from what people know me for and that sort of thing. You go out there and it's whatever the DJ wants to play, and I love that.
And you'll get a crowd, or
Yeah.
you'll get people listening to you regardless.
Exactly.
And that's the fun of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's so good. Well, I hope you make it this year. I hope I make it this year.
Yeah. Well, if you're there, I'll see you.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
For
Yeah.
sure.
It was my first year there, and I saw so many people that were, from this scene, but then not only that, but from Halcyon.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw, Chocolate Sushi and Tone, and
yeah.
just a whole bunch of people.
Oh yeah,
I was like,
was out.
yeah, I was like,
friends of
oh,
mine.
yeah, I feel like I didn't even leave San Francisco.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's what I find when I go. I'm always running into people. It's like, because Burning Man's from San Francisco. so
Exactly, right.
You're bound to run into family
Yes.
and friends out there.
Right.
That's the benefit. I remember when we were there, we were close to the Pink Mammoth camp, and I was running into everybody. I was just like, yeah.
It's so fun.
San Francisco was huge out there, the Bay
Yeah.
Area in general.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's from San Francisco.
Yeah.
It's our party that's kind of grown to expand. Obviously, LA is a huge part of it,
Right.
and then
Right.
and the whole world. I
Yeah.
mean, there's people that have Africa Burns. A lot of our camp were people that started at the Africa Burns, and then they made their way to to the real burn. They were part of Iceberg Cowboys with us, and it's just crazy.
So that's what Africa Burn. I've heard about it.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I'd like to experience.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, in Africa,
Yeah.
the desert out there is a little bit different, I've heard. But also, yeah, I mean, just kind of like a smaller, kind of maybe more like the Burning Man that you went to originally.
Right.
Right.
Well, it'd be a good excuse to go to Africa as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
I've got the travel bug, so I'm
Yeah.
just anywhere I
Yeah.
can go that I've never experienced.
Oh man,
I want to go.
that's amazing. Let me see what else I got on here.
Sure.
Well, we already went through a bunch of these. What about? Can you tell me about the best set you've ever had? If you had to choose one, or maybe
I had to
two.
choose one set. Well, there's a few,
Okay.
but I want to say the one that really got me excited, and let's go back to that 99 to 2000.
Yeah.
Because I was the DJ going into the year 2000. And
Oh, you were the DJ that was.
I was on the
Wow.
main stage going
Wow.
into 2000.
Holy
and
shit.
I'll never forget that because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
My hands were kind of shaking, and That was probably, I mean, and that was at the NAF warehouse in
Okay.
Seattle, and that was the biggest crowd at that point in time. That I still figure, you know, like I never looked at myself as like, oh, I'm some top DJ, you know.
Right.
And the cool thing was being able to go into, you know, another state,
Yeah.
walk into a room with some records, and not really think of myself as that high of a, you know, the people know me.
Right.
But I had people going, hey, we can't wait to hear your set. And again, this is before social media. All they had was like Lotus magazines, Accelerator, those kind of, you know, DJ mags, or my name on a flyer. And in my mind, it just kind of blew me away. I'm like, how do you even know who I am?
Yeah.
But it was cool
Yeah.
to experience that. And I was never kind of like the one going, yeah, I am that guy kind of thing. You know, it was just kind of like, this is cool, and I hope it lasts.
Right.
But then when I got to play that set going into the new year, it's just it was just so memorable.
It's amazing.
And then obviously being able to play here at Halcyon with my brother,
Yeah.
you know, that was with I believe DJ Sneak here was.
Yeah.
DJ Sneak was here. that
Yeah,
night.
we had DJ Sneak.
Yeah. And there's a good photo that my wife took of me and my brother.
I think I do remember this
Yeah,
set because I was here for DJ Sneak.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I just remember I had a shirt on. He shows up with a shirt on. They both had like, you know, we're both matching our all black, shirts with like white print on it. He comes from San Jose and he's wearing his shirt, and I'm like, look what I got on. I'm like, and it was awesome. And there's a good picture of us kind of like side by side.
Oh, sick.
Looking at the setup, and I had that as my profile picture for quite a while.
It's amazing.
But that was really memorable because I got to share that with my brother.
Yeah.
Obviously on a good, venue.
Right.
And I think every time like I get to play here, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a resident, but it's always a good experience because the crowd to me, generally, it's either different or the same.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I get to open up or I get to, I get to share music with like the people that I don't normally see, like at the other venues.
Yeah.
I would say this venue kind of just, there's a broader crowd.
Right.
The young, the old, the people that have been around for a while.
Yeah.
And it's always a great experience that I leave going, okay, now I get to just hang out and relax and maybe sit in the booth.
Yeah.
And watch one of my favorite producers.
Oh, so good.
Throw down.
Did you tell DJ Sneak that was the first?
He actually knows. So,
he knows. Okay.
So I have a story. So, back in the day at WMC, Winter Music Conference, I actually stayed with him in one of the, Hibiscus Island.
Yeah.
So my buddy, a bunch of us were going out there because a friend of mine was doing a yacht party with DJ Sneak, 1200 Warriors, Wally Cleario, and we actually all stayed at the same mansion on Hibiscus Island.
Holy cow.
And Sneak walks in, and he was cooking up for us the entire weekend.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I just remember.
Is he a good cook?
Oh, he's a great cook. Yeah. Jason Hodges was there. There was a bunch of DJs that came in and out of that house all weekend.
Holy cow.
And I just remember, I remember just like we're just hanging out, and I told him that, and he was super humble. He's like, yeah, and I go, yeah, that was my first record. He's like, nice, and we just high-fived, and it was cool.
Oh, it's amazing. Full circle.
But he knows. That was after like probably mid 2000 or so.
Yeah.
When everybody was going to Winter Music Conference all the time.
Right.
So.
Oh. And you'll probably come full circle again. You'll start making some tracks, and then some kid will start getting into DJing, and your track will be his first that he played.
I hope if I'm an influence to somebody in any way, that'd be a good dude.
So good.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff are you wanting to make? Is it like kind of the classic house type stuff?
I want to kind of like broaden. So I want to play some. I want to come out with some new disco, some classic house, with some vocals, maybe some obviously some Chicago style house because I like the 4-on-4 kind of that bouncy kind of funky.
Right.
I'm that jazzy kind of the fun house.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe some. I'll maybe get into some techno here and there.
Sure.
Some tech house, but I like the more kind of like the funky, danceable house music.
Right.
That's always been my thing.
Yeah. I tend to do better at that. I've made some tech house, and I think I like my kind of more classic house sounding stuff a little bit better.
Yeah.
A lot of the tech house stuff gets really heavy into sound design, which I'm actually. I mean, if you listen to my future bass stuff, I've had people tell me I'm really good at sound design, but for whatever reason, like it works better for me in that category than in the house category. In the house category, I kind of like more like these like choppy drums and these rolling bass lines and that sort of thing. You know. So yeah, you kind of find your groove and where you're, no pun intended, and and run with it. So I'm excited to hear what you come up with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my top producers would, obviously Roger Sanchez, who I got to play here for Frankie Rizzardo, Sammy Devine, or
so
Sam Devine.
Yes.
A lot of stuff that's coming out on Defected is one of my favorites.
Defected is so good right now.
Yeah.
Just they're at the top for sure.
Yeah, when I got to go to Defected in Croatia, that was just my dream. I was just like, I'm here. It's awesome. Great music the entire time. Although they love their own music. It's like they play a lot of. Oh yeah. You're gonna hear each they're very supportive of one another, which is kind of cool.
Sure.
But one artist will play the other artist's tracks. And you'll hear it. There'll be that one favorite track you'll hear on and on and on.
Yeah.
And
a little bit of nationalism there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a good deal.
Yeah, fair enough.
Going off.
We got that too. You come to any party here, you'll probably hear a Dirty Bird track.
Yeah, Dirty Bird is just they're huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Massive. I mean, talk about going from parties in the park here in the Golden Gate Park to having a festival, huge festival. I mean, huge, but small compared to other festivals, I suppose. But still, I mean, and one of the biggest house record labels, right now. Yeah. The last couple of years.
I need to check out the Camp Out eventually.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Every time, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go this year. Something else pops up.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It's tough to make it to all of them. You
can't go.
No. Because I was doing I did Lightning in a Bottle for probably 5 or 6 years, and that was amazing. And I still love it, and I want to go back. But then I did Burning Man for the first time this last year. Still haven't made it to, and you could go to Lightning in a Bottle and then make it to, there's 5 months or so between that or Dirty Bird. Mm-hmm. But again, it's just, it's so much money and so much investment of time and that sort of thing,
Yeah, sometimes when I just see friends just going to all of them, I'm like, where do you find the time?
Right.
You just save up all year? Like, what's the secret?
Right.
Are you working?
Yeah. Right. A secret part of me is hoping that this podcast will allow me to go to a lot of these festivals, and maybe even do some episodes at different festivals and that sort of thing. Find kind of some quieter areas where we can sit back and have a beer and talk or something like that.
Cool. I hope you get to do it.
Yeah. Thanks. It's all part of the bigger picture, I suppose.
Yeah. It gets there, just everything builds and grows from there.
Right. Cool, man. Well, we're about an hour and a half in. I'm hearing people start to show up. Yeah, right. It fucking flies by. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So we have a techno and taco Tuesday party.
It's a good combination.
It's the first one we're having here. Okay. I don't know that we've really dabbled in weekday parties so much, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
You got your night.
Yeah.
Your night
plan. Exactly right. It's been busy today. I mean, we did the awning install today, and then the podcast. I was really hoping that awning install didn't go too long, because the first half of that install was just a nightmare. The lift died on us, the scissor lift.
Oh.
And so we got halfway into it,
and
then the thing got stuck in front of the building. So I don't know if you saw it, but there was a scissor lift parked out front for 2 or 3 days.
I missed that.
Yeah, and they had to get a forklift, and it was a nightmare. But finally got that done, and then we did this, and I actually had enough time to go vote between the two. So it's just been back to back, and then we're going into the party tonight. So it should be fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you got anything you want to plug? SoundCloud, Mixcloud?
Yeah. So it's mixcloud.com /DJ Swing.
DJ Swing.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Jamie Swing.
Jamie Swing. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a history to that. So
okay.
DJ Swing was my original DJ name before I changed it to Jamie Swing.
Nice.
Yeah. So
probably a little bit better SEO with Jamie Swing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Mixcloud /Jamie Swing, and then big event coming up in August, Soul Camp.
Nice.
We're going to be back in Belden Town.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I saw something like that on your Facebook.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Belden is where it used to be for a little bit.
Right.
You know, and we went to different camps, and we're back to Belden Town.
That's amazing.
It's an awesome place.
Yeah, it's
So,
a good campground.
Yeah.
Sweet. Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming down here and
For
doing
sure.
this with me.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we got to do it again. Maybe
Yeah.
give it a couple months. We can swing back and see where you're at with your productions and all that stuff. So
We'd love to.
cool.
Yeah,
cool.
appreciate it.
All right. Well,
Bye.
this has been the Voice of Electronic Music, number 54 with Jamie Swing. Check out his social media, and I'm Scott Brio. If you want to check out our previous episodes, we're on basically every major streaming platform, so you can just Google it. Got to thank Rhea and Gina and Mikey Payton and Dean Samaras for letting us host here at Halcyon on 11th Street in San Francisco, maybe the best place we could possibly host a electronic music podcast. So I'm Scott Brio, and we will check you guys out on the next one. Oh, also, if you want to support, you can go to patreon.com/Scott Brio. Become a patron, help with the travel fees and that sort of thing as far as getting around to do these podcasts for you all. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.
All right.